Hi guys, it's Katie and it's nap time. And today I thought I'd show you my apple projects. I've been working on way too many apple projects. We went apple picking a little while ago and you saw the 27 pounds of apples I bought. I put that on my grocery haul, but what you didn't see is after that, like less than a week later, we went back and I got another 55 pounds of apples. So it all started with, we were just gonna go apple picking, and I picked mostly Fuji and Golden Delicious just for fresh eating. I got a few Granny Smith and I was looking for recipes on how to use them, and I found a bunch of recipes, and more recipes just sounded really good. So we went back and got more apples, and now I'm making all of these projects. I had like 12 tabs open on my browser at one point, and as I've been making them, I've just been closing the tabs on my browser. So I have been filming all along because my intention was to make videos for each of these things, but a lot of the things are not turning out well, so I don't know what I'm going to do with the footage. It's kind of pointless to make a video if the finished product is a fail, unless it's a fail video, but I'm not funny enough to pull that off. So I will just show you what I've been working on. Some of these things are working out fine, and I will be using the footage in some way. So I'll start here. This is apple cider. This is actually my third batch of apple cider. It's very simple. You just throw the whole apples with the core and the peel and everything. The only thing I took off was the stem, and add just a little bit of water to get it going. I tried small apples whole and it worked. It just took a lot of tampering and it took a lot of time, and it ended up heating up quite a bit. So I did cut them up a little bit, but the Vitamix handles it. It just needs to be able to get down to the blades. So I just blend it up with a little bit of water, and then I strain it through this cloth just the way that I do like my nut milks and other juices. So that was a success. I think I'm going to put that footage on my next food prep video, and I don't know when that's going to be up because I have been working on all of these apple projects, so I haven't been editing videos. There's more apples there, and there's some more apples there. So that's the apple cider. That was a success. Another success is the apple cider vinegar. It's not finished yet, but I highly anticipate that it's going to be a success. So I've been filming this too. I started a batch. I put a picture on my Facebook if you saw that, but that batch molded like right away. So these four, I kind of did them over the course of making all of these other projects as my cores came available. I've just been filling up quart jars and topping them off with sugar water, and so these are like 3 days old, I think. Most of them are 3 days old, and they're looking really good. They're already starting to smell a little vinegary, no signs of mold or even any scum or anything. So these are all of the cores from everything else that I've been making. I bought this apple core. It works out really well. It's this OXO brand or OXO brand. Ooh, focus. I'm not usually one to like single purpose tools like this, but when I had 75 pounds of apples, I figured I would spend the $8 and get it. So the apple cider vinegar is also a success. Another success is the applesauce, but I mean, you really can't mess up applesauce. You just take apples and cook them down. I just added a little bit of water to cook them down. I didn't add any sugar or spices or anything, and it turned out really well. All of my jars sealed. And applesauce is really simple, even if you don't have a canner or if you've never canned before. As long as you have a big enough stock pot, just throw a kitchen towel in the bottom and you can can applesauce. Super easy. And I'll show you all of my jar seals, but I ended up opening one up so that I could check it out. And it's kind of chunky on purpose. That's the way I like it. But it's really good. I mean, it's just apples, so start with delicious apples, you end up with delicious applesauce. So when I made the apples, or the applesauce, so this is where things get complicated. And this is where I've been kind of losing my ever-loving mind over these stupid apples. So when I made the applesauce, instead of peeling the raw apples and dicing them up and stewing them down, which is how I would make applesauce normally, if I were making like just a small amount of applesauce, I would peel up a few apples and do that. But since I wanted to make a big batch, what I did is I took the cores out, and that's the cores there, or some of the cores anyway. So I took the cores out and I put the whole apples into my pressure cooker, and I pressure cooked them for 4 minutes. and when I opened the pressure cooker, the peels like just fell off. I barely had to peel them. They just fell off, and what you were left with was a big old, basically peeled and cored apple, and it was a little bit cooked on the outside, which is fine because I was going to cook it down for applesauce, but the inside was still firm, so then I just threw them all into a pot and stewed them down with just a little bit of water. So when I did that, I ended up with this big bowl of these pressure cooked peels, and they were very, very tender. They're Golden Delicious apples is what I use mostly, so the skins are already pretty tender, and then they were pressure cooked, and then when they peeled off, there was like this tiniest layer of the fruit on the peel. It wasn't just peel, it was like just the tiniest little velvety layer of fruit. So I was like, I want to use these. I could have pressed that extra little fruit out and added it to my applesauce, but I tried it with a little bit of the peels. The amount that I was getting back wasn't even worth it. So I was thinking what else I could do with those peels. I think I could have made more apple cider vinegar, but I already have 4 quarts going, so I was trying to think of something else. So what I ended up doing, if you can see them right there, is I dehydrated them. So I just laid them out on my dehydrator. Some of them I sprinkled with cinnamon, most of them I didn't. And I thought, since they were so thin and so tender, I thought that they would dehydrate and be almost like potato chips, but they're not. They're like apple skins. Yeah. Anyway, so they're not so pleasant to chew on, but they have a ton of flavor. So the next thing that I thought is, because they have a lot of flavor but they're hard to chew up, that I would grind them up and use the powder. This is something that people who ferment food do a lot. Like if you have sauerkraut or even kimchi, it's really good to dehydrate it and then grind it up and use that powder as like a seasoning. You can sprinkle it on other things and it has all of the flavors of the fermented foods, and as long as you don't exceed a certain temperature, a lot of the probiotic value is retained as well. Well, there's no probiotics in these apples, but I ground it up and this is what I end up with. And it's still kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like if you taste a little bit of it, it's still like apple skins, you know, like it's hard to chew up. It doesn't tend to go out of your mouth. It's just kind of this gritty feeling in your mouth. But there's so much flavor. It's so like pungent apple flavor. And there's also a lot of pectin in the peels. I don't know, I have never like taken pectin out of apples, so I don't know how, you know, much has been retained through the cooking and then the dehydrating process. But I know if you peel fresh apples, you can derive pectin from them somehow. But I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with this powder. It has a ton of flavor and a ton of fiber. So I was thinking I could put it in smoothies or other things where you don't really chew it that much. Like maybe you could put it in with like yogurt. I don't know about you, but I don't really like chew yogurt. I kind of just swallow it. Is that kind of weird? Anyway, so yeah, I don't know what exactly to do with this. Also, even though it was dehydrated, it's very sweet, so I feel like it's going to pull a lot of moisture from the air, and it's probably going to clump up. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it. It's just one of those experimental things that I'm, you know, fond of doing. So that's what happened with the skins from the apples from the applesauce, and then I ground them up. So that's part one. Part two was after I did like, going into my refrigerator if you're wondering where I'm going, if I can find it. After I did, I think like 8 batches, because my pressure cooker, it was just my regular pressure cooker, it's not a pressure canner. After I did, I think like 7 or 8 batches of 5 apples each, the amount of liquid that I put in the bottom of my pressure cooker, I just used the same water over again, and I just used a ½ cup, which is the minimum amount of liquid my pressure cooker calls for. And when I was done, the liquid that was in the bottom was this. This is like apple syrup. It is amazing. It's a little bit thick and viscous like syrup. It's got a punch you in the face apple flavor. And I ended up with, this is a quart jar, so more than a quart. I started off with ½ cup. So a lot of this is just pure apple concentrated, like way concentrated down. I mean, you can see that color. That's even darker than like apple cider. So I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with this. I'm thinking I probably should just can it since I have my canner out. That way it'll last longer, or freeze it, but I'm really enjoying canning. I've not really canned that much before except for my sauerkraut and some tomatoes from the garden. So I'm thinking I might start moving in that direction because all of this can go on my pantry and I don't have to worry about it taking up freezer space. I don't have to worry about you know, the jars in the freezer or my plastic containers. I like to not leave them in the freezer too long because I need them for other things, but I have a ton of jars, so I should be using them to their fullest potential. But yeah, this is like, if I got anything from all of this apple shenanigans, this is probably my favorite thing. And it's like so sweet and so appley. I think that you could even like replace simple syrup in cocktails with it. I think that would be amazing. You could drizzle it over fruit. I think that would be amazing. Like anywhere that you would use syrup or honey, like maple syrup or honey or anything like that, I think you could replace this apple syrup over toast, with pancakes, with French toast, in oatmeal. I think I'm so excited about it. Like I kind of want to just cook up a bunch of applesauce just to get more of this. It's like nectar. It's so delicious. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about that. Okay, so those are kind of the good things that's happened, the wins. So as far as the fails, I made apple butter, apple jelly, and I made these spiced apple rings. So these are like cinnamon spiced apple rings. Okay, so where to start? The apple jelly and the apple butter are both recipes that I've never really done before, and they're both things that cook for a long time, and to know when they're done you have to kind of know all of these little tricks, and there's like these little tests for doneness. And I think I missed, with the jelly and the apple butter, I missed those tests because I cooked it way down. Also, both of these recipes yielded half of what they said they would, so I think I like reduced these down twice as far as I should have. So the apple jelly looks really good, and I was really pleased with how it looks. I had this little bit left that didn't fit in a jar. I only got 3 half pints from a recipe that said it was supposed to be 5. So this was all that was left, so I just put it in the fridge. I was going to use it right away, and I went to use it, and this is not jelly. This is like caramel, which is fine. It's delicious. It's a very appley and almost has like a caramel apple flavor because I think the sugar is kind of burnt a little bit. Well, caramelized, not burnt. But it's definitely not jelly. And both the jelly and the apple butter I sort of kind of only made to give as gifts. So I don't think I would give this as a gift. So I'm going to have to figure out some way to use this. I think even this could be like stirred into tea as well. Or maybe just reconstituted with water and had like a warm drink. That might be nice. It's got a lot of sugar in it is the only problem for my little one. And then the apple butter, same thing. I cooked it down way too far. So the texture is okay, but it has a tiny bit of a scorched aftertaste. And we'll eat it. It's fine. It has a lot of spices. It has nutmeg and cinnamon in it. Or no, cloves and cinnamon. So it's kind of got that strong flavor going for it. But I don't think I'm going to give this as a gift either. So as far as the spiced apple rings, I wanted these to be like spicy, cinnamony, and really sweet, like kind of almost like candied apples is what I was anticipating them being. I used Granny Smith apples. I figured those are the firmest apple, and they just kind of turn to mush. So these ones here, because they were canned in the jar, like kind of cooked in the jar, they look like they're all in one piece, but there was one jar that opened up, and whenever you stick your fork in to get one out, they just kind of like turn into mush. So they taste okay. I mean, it kind of just tastes like cinnamon applesauce. The cinnamon flavor is not as strong as the bright red color would lead you to believe. I was hoping for something like really strong, almost like an atomic fireball or something. These are actually made with cinnamon candies like those Red Hots. But yeah, it's not even that cinnamony. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those. The syrup inside is kind of nice. It's just sugar, water, and cinnamon candies. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with those. I did take the one jar opened up in the canner. I put it in my dehydrator. So this dehydrator has a whole other host of secrets inside of it. So that's all of the things that I canned. And then the skins I dehydrated. And then, oh, I have in my pantry. The first batch of cider that I made, I took the pulp. Ooh, now I'm in my pantry. I was in my fridge earlier. So I took the pulp, and I had read online that you can use it to make fruit leather. And I know that fruit leather a lot of times has a lot of apple in it because it's cheap and it creates a nice bulk, and there's a lot of pectin in it, so you get a good quality fruit leather. If you're using like expensive fruit like berries or something, you can add just a little bit of berries and have the bulk of it be apples. So I took the pulp from a batch of cider, so like this kind of pulp, and I spread it out on fruit leather trays and dehydrated it. That was a terrible idea. These are, let me see if I can open this jar. These are kind of basically just like apple fiber. They don't have very, I mean, they have some apple flavor to them. The texture is very fibrous. But I packed them up and I put them in this jar. My husband snacks on them a little bit here and there, but I don't exactly know what I'll end up doing with these. They're just dehydrated. I did sprinkle some cinnamon on some of them. There's some cinnamon there. So I mean, I guess I could always reconstitute it, and then I would just have that same apple mush, like what's in there, and then I could add them to muffins or something, or I might even just like cut them up really small with scissors and add them to a muffin recipe. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. So I did those fruit leathers, which were kind of a bust. And then I was thinking, if I did fruit leathers with like the whole apple, not just the unwanted pulp after taking all the delicious stuff out, that it might turn out a little better. So I took this jar of applesauce and I'm making some fruit leather in here as well. So this has only been running for about an hour. Actually turned it off because it was really loud for me to film this. So the top one is applesauce. I put it in the blender, and I also put in some dehydrated cranberries that I had made last year. I have a video on how I dehydrated my cranberries, but I got a bunch of cranberries on clearance after Thanksgiving, and I dehydrated them all. And I still have 2 quarts left, I think. Well, about 1.5 quarts. So I took maybe like 1/4 cup of dried cranberries, and I reconstituted them in hot water. I did add a little bit of sugar because I did not sweeten my cranberries very much. If you're using like craisins, you probably wouldn't need to add any sugar. And then I put that reconstituted cranberries in the blender with the applesauce, blended it up, and this is going to be the first fruit leather. I think this will probably turn out a lot better than that one. I think this is going to be good because I've actually seen recipes for fruit leather that's basically you're flavoring applesauce and dehydrating it. And then the one underneath is applesauce that I added a little bit of apple cider to. So I don't know if that will be any different than just plain applesauce. And then what's next? Oh, that's an empty tray. Oh, let's see if I can take off 3 trays. Okay, and then underneath all of this, I took one of the jars of those spiced apples, since they're kind of mushy anyway. And I'm going to dehydrate them and see how they turn out. Hopefully good, because I really love cinnamony flavored things. So I had really high hopes for those cinnamon apples, but they didn't turn out well. Also, I think whenever I have a fruit leather tray available, like these here, the fruit leather trays, I might take the syrup that's left over from the jar of the apples that are dehydrating in here and dehydrate that, because I mean it's just sugar, water, and cinnamon flavor. So I might dehydrate it as it is, and then I would have cinnamon fruit leather, or I might add that syrup to applesauce and have cinnamon apple fruit leather. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. I'll put this back together. I think that's everything that I've done apple-wise. I have a lot more apples, so I think I'm going to be making a lot more cider. And then, oh yeah, I'm going to take the cider that I made today. That cider has a lot of Granny Smith apples in it, and I think I'm going to try to make jelly again, and hopefully not cook it down to oblivion this time. I think that was everything. I guess the apple cider vinegar video should be coming up, and if I do anything with this, I will definitely share that because I'm excited about that. And the apple cider video will be, or the apple cider fridge will be in the food prep video. And I think that's about everything. I'll probably just share, the fruit leather and those apple things. I'll probably just put those in maybe a food prep video, or maybe my weekly meals video. Or maybe I'll just put it in a picture on Facebook. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, that's what's going on here. I have a lot of apple things going on. And I haven't been doing pretty much anything else. So hopefully I can get some videos uploaded for my food prep for this last week, because I have a lot of fun things to share. But until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye!